Hello to all of my peeps. It's so good to see you here today from my chair, episode 195. Grab your Bibles. Thank you for hanging with me today. We're going to jump into Song of Solomon chapter 4. I know it's just one of those awkward chapters, but this is some of the most precious verbiage in all the Bible. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go fast because I've got a lot to say, and I'm excited about it. If we could see and comprehend who these precious words in Song of Solomon chapter 4, who they're for, I believe it would mean even more to us. The sad thing is, I think we, as modest, chaste believers, when we get to Song of Solomon chapter 4, we tend to skim over it with an attitude of embarrassment and even a titch of disgust, especially verse number 5, which we will skip over in our reading today for propriety's sake. And honestly, I'm right there with you until I understood that these words are not just between a husband and a wife, or Solomon and his bride, or even Christ and the church corporately. They're for me. They're for me as an individual believer. They're for you as an individual believer. And I'm just telling you, it took on a fresh meaning for me when I read these verses in this chapter like that. A little bit of explanation. The whole chapter, with the exception of the last verse, verse number 16, the whole chapter is a love song. It's a love song. But it's a love song to me from Christ. Remember, that's how we're reading Song of Solomon, is from Christ to the individual believer, myself. It's a love song to you as an individual believer. He gets very specific in verses 1 through 11 in discussing and describing the person of the bride, her physical beauty. As one commentator put it, and I quote, he declares all that she is in his sight. He is assuring her of his delight in her, from a commentator, Mr. Darby. Let's read some of this together and listen to it for the love song that it is. Here we go. Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes within thy locks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead. Thy teeth are like the flock of sheep that are even shorn, which came up from the washing, whereof every one bare twins, and none is barren among them. Thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, and thy speech is comely. Thy temples are like a piece of pomegranate within thy locks. Thy neck is like a tower of David, builded for an armory, whereon there hang 1,000 bucklers, all thy shields of mighty men. Until the day break and the shadows flee away, I will get me to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of frankincense. Thou art all fair, my love. There's no spot in thee. Isn't that neat? You're all fair. All of you is fair, my love. There's no spot in thee. Verse 9, watch. Thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Thou hast ravished my heart with one of thine eyes, and with one chain of thy neck. How fair is thy love, my sister, my spouse. How much better is thy love than wine, and the smell of thine ointments than all spices. Thy lips, O my spouse, drop as the honeycomb. Honey and milk are under thy tongue, and the smell of thy garments is like the smell of Lebanon. Very, very interesting. You know what I got out of these verses when I started studying them? And I cannot go verse by verse through this. I'm not going to do that. I have to give you just a synopsis of it. It's too precious. It's just too deep. It's too good. But I want to give you a synopsis of it, if I could today. Let's give you some thoughts. It's pretty simple, honestly, but it changed me. It changed the way that I perceive how God sees me. I don't care who you are, we all try to figure out what God is thinking. I bet God is so frustrated with me right now. Have you ever said that before? I have all the time. God is probably so fed up with me. I cause him so much grief every day with my faults and my failures. He's just ready to throw his hands up in disgust and just walk away. Yeah. Watch. We think that God thinks like we think. Ain't it true? But he doesn't. No, what I learned from these verses here in Song of Solomon chapter 4, this is what I learned. Are you ready? My Lord Jesus not only loves me, but he knows me. He knows me. And he doesn't just know about me. As in, oh, you're one in about 107.5 billion people that have walked on this earth. No, the God of the universe knows me specifically. But watch. He doesn't just know me. He's crazy about me. You're like, oh my goodness, that is so far-fetched. Wait, did you catch verse number 9? I think you should mark this. In fact, I think you need to get like a Post-it note or a card or a poster and write this down so you can look at it every day. You ready? What does he say? Verse number 9. Thou hast ravished my heart. And then he says, thou hast ravished my heart with one of thine eyes. The connotation here is that and I do quote from my commentators, thou hast hearted me. She had taken away his heart. One glance has completely overcome him. Understand that the bridegroom, I love this, the bridegroom is the one singing here. He is giving the words to her, not her to him. I'm not, read it. Thou hast ravished my heart. Do you understand that God is crazy about you? J. Vernon McGee said, it would break your heart and my heart if we knew how much he loves us. He goes on to say, only the Spirit of God can make his love real to us. He knows me. He's crazy about me. And watch, because of those two things, I can hand him everything. Isn't that good? There is nothing that I can't go to God about. I don't have to beat around the bush. I don't have to try and cover stuff up. I can tell him about my weaknesses, my failures, my sins, my worries, my frustrations, my hurts, my pains, all of it. Why? Because he loves me, he knows me, he's crazy about me, and he wants my everything. Augustine said this, and I quote, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. We should never be afraid to go to him and tell him everything. Why? Put it all together. Why? Because he knows you and he's crazy about you. You have ravished his heart. Nothing you hand him is too much, or too wordy, or too drama. You have friends like that. You know people like that. You're like, I better not say that to so-and-so. It's too wordy. Or it's way too much drama. That's not God. It doesn't matter if it's too wordy or too drama or too emotional or too hot to handle or too bad or too sinful or too ugly to discuss or too complicated or too hard to explain with words. You've been there before. He's not going to trade you in for a newer model with upgraded features or a better paint scheme. For my senior saints, catch the analogy here. For my senior saints, Just because your battery has a hard time getting charged up every day, it doesn't mean that God is headed to the recycle bin to toss you aside for a better, more energetic model. Come on now. Oh, I'm just so old. God ain't ravished with me. No. No. Your God knows you, and He's crazy about you. Watch. Are you ready for this? There is no age limit in Song of Solomon chapter 4 verses 1 through 11. Did you see an age? Only if you're young will you ravish me, God says. Only if your hair is luscious locks. Only if your teeth, you got all of them. No, it's not here. It's not here. There is no age limit on Song of Solomon chapter 4 verses 1 through 11. Watch. There's no dress size in here. There's no specific number of teeth that you have to have for God to be ravished with you. There's no exact number of hairs on your head. He talks a lot about the hair at the very beginning. You know what? Which is wonderful news for my chemo peeps. Yeah, I've got some chemo peeps. And they're embarrassed to take off their hats and wigs and things like that. There's no number in here. He's still ravished with you. My sweet chemo peeps. That's a wonderful thing to have, to know that He's not looking at a bald head. He's ravished with you no matter how many hairs you have or don't have. How many teeth you have or don't have. Whatever your dress size is, it doesn't matter. There's nothing in here about having 20/20 vision. Have fun with that. That excludes me, and it excludes most of you too. Or even a BMI of 18.5, which you got to be like, 5 years old to have a BMI of 18.5. Let's just be honest. It's not here. It's not here. Nothing in here about perfectly formed fingers or plump, full lips. No, you, just like you are, just how God made you. You, with your gnarled fingers, your saggy midriffs, a hunched back, the brittle brackish hair, a few teeth, thick glasses, and a scale you wish wasn't accurate, you ravish your God's heart. You ravish His heart. He knows you, and He's crazy about you. And He wants you to hand Him absolutely everything. That's what I see when I read Song of Solomon chapter 4 verses 1 through 11. Let me encourage you to go back, highlight verse number 9, verse number 10, highlight those things, and as you read it, listen to your lovely Lord Jesus sing to you. Listen to Him sing to you that you have ravished His heart. He loves you. He knows you. He's crazy about you. Hand Him everything, because He's not going to trade you in for a newer, better, prettier model. No. Hand Him everything. He's crazy about you. Let's think about that this week. Don't forget Lydia at 11 in her journey to remain cancer-free. Now go be amazing today.